What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by the Nitro Rifle himself, Andy Cortez.
The debonair in Times Square or something like that. Somebody tweeted at me a catchphrase. I couldn't remember what it was though, Tim. Couldn't remember.
That is too fucking good.
Looking debonair in Times Square or something like that. That's what it was.
I love it. Andy, I'm not quite done with you. I want to introduce everybody, but then I have some things I want to talk to you with one Andy Cortez. But before we get to that, of course, it's a sad day. A beautiful, beautiful sad day. We got sad boy himself, Barrett Courtney.
Oh, I was like, what is this?
Hello. Hi, I am here.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. And rounding out this crew for what must be the very first time these four gentlemen are together. Of course, we have GameSpot's own Tamoor Hussein.
Hi, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
So Greg's not here, whole baby thing. He's not going to be here for the next couple months. But Blessing straight up lost his voice. Snakes must have got him there too, so that's why Blessing is not here today. But
they spit venom into his throat directly. Into
the throat snakes.
The throat snakes. Oh God, I don't like that. I don't like throat snakes at all. Yeah, but you know what I do like? This show, the Kinda Funny Gamescast, that happens each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. If you want to get it as a video, you just go there, or roosterteeth.com. But if you want to get it as a podcast, search your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Gamescast, and we'll be right there for you. If you wanted to get the show ad-free, if you wanted to watch it live as we record it, and if you want the exclusive post-show, you got to go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like our Patreon producers, Pranksy, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Alex J. Sandoval, Techie Haas, James Hastings, and Casey, Andrew have all done. But if you don't have any bucks to toss our way, that's okay. You're out there buying video games all the time. I see you. I hear about it. And if you're doing that on the Epic Game Store, make sure you're using our Epic creator code, KindaFunny, and it'll help support us without costing you anything extra. So that is very, very cool. Thank you guys all for the support so far. It has been awesome to see. Moving on from all of that, we are brought to you by Upstart Honey and Chime, but I will tell you about that later. For now, I want to talk to Andy Cortez because we're going to talk about Metroid Dread and his thoughts on that later in the show. Back 4 Blood's just coming out. Sorry, that's the hotness I want to get at. But I just want to congratulate you. Not only are you looking debonair in Times Square, this weekend you were on the front page of twitch.tv repping Hispanic Heritage Month. And last I saw, you had like 14,000 people watching you play Metroid Dread. And you were fucking killing it. Last week, I gave you the shout out saying I'm proud for the Times Square thing. I'm even more proud of this because you had a captive audience of 14,000 and you entertained the living fuck out of them. So round of applause.
Thank you, homie. I appreciate it, man.
You peaked at like 16 or something like that eventually. Right?
Crazy.
We hit like 17 something by the end of it. And the coolest thing was obviously you're on the front page for a limited amount of time. And then when that time is off, you are taken off. But even after the front page is taken away, I average around 250 to 3 something viewers nowadays. And even when the front page is taken off, there was still like 2K around, which was really, really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It was a blast.
I think I was watching, and my favorite thing is Tim said, like, oh, you were killing it while playing the game. And my prevailing memory of that stream was Andy waiting with his blaster for an Emmy to appear from the distance. And then it drops down right in front of him. He goes, ah! And he falls off his chair. And I was like, that's a TikTok moment right there.
It made no sense. Where did that Emmy go?
Good.
Where did it go? My favorite moment was when we were convincing 14,000 people in chat that Tamoor wasn't a real gamer. That was my favorite moment.
Wow, I hate to see it.
Wow,
you know what?
wow.
It's true. It happens.
It's so funny to me that like my entire job and most of my life at this point is hanging out with you guys in some form, having these conversations about games, playing games with you, watching Twitch streams, all that stuff. But for some reason, there's this thrill that I get when it's an unexpected, uncalendared, unplanned moment where I come across something. And an example of what I'm saying here is I was watching Andy stream. He didn't know I was watching. I was just randomly popping in and just trying to support. And then he mentioned my name. He was like, oh, this is what Tim Geddes was talking about on the Gamescast. And I like had like a freak out moment where I was like, he said my name. Like, that's so cool.
I don't even know if that was the moment, but I feel like there was 9 of those moments where I said, this is where Tim said he got stuck. And that happened about 10 other times later on that night. Yeah,
I did tell you it's going to happen a lot, and it does.
Oh,
it happens right up until the end of the game. Like, I was playing it the other day, and I was like, Why am I stuck again?
Yeah.
We'll get into
Now,
Metroid.
Tim,
We'll talk about that later. Sorry, go for it, Andy.
but I was just gonna say you wanted to quickly kind of tease some future
Yep.
talks that we're gonna have. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we're moving out of the Andy Cortez praise, but you guys let him know in the comments how
Thank
much
you,
you love him.
everybody.
Moving on a little bit more from that, Battlefield 2042. Maybe not so much praise needed to be thrown that way, but we're not talking about it on this show. That is going to be saved for the KindaFunny Xcast later this week, where we're going to have Mike with Paris this week. Correct?
Correct.
With Paris Lily and Andy. Can we confirm things?
Oh yeah, I'll be hopping on for sure.
And Andy Cortez will be hopping on to give all of his latest thoughts on Battlefield 2042 and where it ranks in this very, very busy of fall first-person shooters. But that's not what we're talking about on Gamescast today. We are talking about Back 4 Blood. As of recording, it is the day of release. You can get it now. We did a stream of it where Andy, Nick, and Mike were playing along with Kevin. It looked like they were having a blast. I want to get your thoughts. Let's start with you, Andy Cortez.
So much fun. I'm so glad it's actually out so that, there can be some semblance of progress being made. Again, if you all don't know, if you haven't had the internet for the last 3 years and then decided to, download this as your first podcast back, Back for Blood is the new version of Left 4 Dead by Turtle Rock Studios. It has all of, I think, the heart and sort of rhythm and pace that the Left 4 Dead games have. It's a lot of fun. You pick a lot of different characters. You can customize their looks. Each character that you pick has their own passives. It's not just an aesthetic choice. One character might heal better. One character might have, more stamina. One character might have faster melee, things like that. One kind of key issue, or not key issue, but key point with Back 4 Blood is that they have this thing called the card system. And whenever you are progressing through the game, you are unlocking points to then go buy from a station, and you can unlock new cards for your deck. And you're essentially building a deck of 15 cards. And the decks all range from, you can kind of build the deck how you want. At this point, I'm just kind of like putting whatever I've gotten there because we're so early. But again, the decks can be, you find more money on the ground, or you are a more efficient healer. It's all sort of little passive upgrades, but you can kind of build decks to be like, well, if I'm playing with these 3 jabronis and they're not going to be too great at the game, maybe I spec a really, really high offensive deck where it's like, extra headshot bonus damage, all sorts of stuff like that. You can kind of customize however you want. You can make a bunch of different decks to make each experience feel new and brand new. And I think that's what's really unique about it. We had a lot of fun today. This is a game we've been looking forward to for a long time, and we've played every beta and alpha that there is, and it's finally here, and now progress can be made, and we can kind of save everything. Crossplay is fantastic. Kevin hopped in from his Xbox when we were all on PC, and it's a blast so far, and I'm really happy that it's kind of turned out to be the game that we were hoping for. It also performs a lot better than it did during some of the betas and alphas. I feel like I was getting a lot of frame drops and just CPU usage and GPU usage was just kind of through the roof. But now I feel like it's running really, really well. Granted, I have a really good graphics card and stuff, but it's still performing like I think it should now.
Tam or Barrett, have either of you been able to play at all?
Andy, would you describe it as a cheap copy of Left 4 Dead? Because KFC Gaming did. And then Turtle Rock hit back with the most brutal, the most savage retaliation I have ever seen. In reply to KFC Gaming, it said 11 herbs and spices and still no taste.
It's fantastic.
Which is just
good.
I'm not one for like massive internet drama, but this is like this is the best internet beef, and I'm all in on it.
I'm always up for some corporation on corporation crime, which is like.
It's also weird because like. Turtle Rock made Left 4 Dead. It's such a weird.
That's the funny thing, where it's like I feel like KFC Gaming like may not really understand the history there and like where that talent eventually went, because it's like
because it's KFC Gaming.
They don't fully understand, dive deep into like who's making what and stuff like that. I just like seeing that tweet before Turtle Rock hit back, I was like, it's the same people making it, you dipshits. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Who even is KFC Gaming?
Yeah,
in this
KFC
world?
Gaming's like 4 employees, 1 intern on social just took the biggest L of the week, and it's like just sitting at home right now.
I thought Brian Altano had a good look at it, like, oh yeah, they're just kind of They're just a marketing firm from some place that has nothing to do with KFC, kind of running
Yeah,
the social page.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of love it because it's KFC Gaming. Their bio is just finger clicking good.
They were involved in like the Dream Daddy kind of KFC game that they made, right? Like which was
That's
like
right.
a
Yeah.
visual novel with the Colonel in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you
Yeah.
date the Colonel.
Yeah, it's chicken.
Can you actually date him? I don't know if that was ever confirmed or not.
I don't know. You can do it.
I modded it though. I figured out a way.
Oh, okay.
Tam and Barrett, have you all played it?
Yeah,
played
so
it at
I've been
all?
playing it. I've been playing a bunch of it. And like fundamentally, like I know everyone says this and it's cliche at this point, but like you can make even the worst games fun by playing with people that you like. I think the surprise, not the surprise, but it's better when the game you're playing is actually pretty decent. Which is what Back for Blood really is. It feels a lot like Left 4 Dead. When you play it with a bunch of folks that you know, as Andy did, like it just elevates the experience. I do think that the card system is quite good. Like I don't mind it. Like I don't pay too much attention to it. It does feel like it's slightly unnecessary at times, but also it's just enough of a twist on the formula to kind of both distinguish it from Left 4 Dead, but also keep you engaged in the moment to moment in between the actual like shooting, add a strategy layer to it, which I kind of like. But I will say it is it's missing. It's got some rough edges, and it's missing some of that polish of Left 4 Dead, and it kind of makes sense because that's what I imagine where Valve stepped in and were like, we're gonna spit shine this bad boy, and that's what we got. So there are things that happen here and there that are weird and kind of odd, and there's some decisions that are kind of really annoying. My current most annoying one is that you can turn off friendly fire. And you can also get a kind of card that, if you're crouched, eliminates friendly fire. You don't take it or receive it. However, if you've got it off by default, when you shoot the enemy, your teammate, sorry, if you shoot your teammate, the teammate still reacts as if they're being shot for real. They're like, oh, don't shoot me. I thought you knew how to shoot a gun or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And on your screen, it will also show you the hit indicator where it came from. So like all that's happening is they turn the damage off, but every bit of feedback that and that's just a rough edge that someone in testing or design should have gone, maybe we shouldn't do that. And it's just in there for some reason, and it's something that can be patched out later. And I feel like that kind of exemplifies what this game is. It's solid, it's fun. It's just got a bunch of things that needs to be patched out. There's like a bug that one of the people, Krupa at RKG, Daniel Krupa, had where for some reason his audio cut all the way out and you had to quit out of the game. I had a moment where all the sounds of gunfire just vanished.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
so weird. Like
Polish wise, we were playing today, and there one unfortunate thing is that there's a lot of DMCA music in there. There is a moment that is trying to sort of mirror the Shaun of the Dead bar
Don't
fight
Stop Me Now.
scene with the music. There's a lot of different music that plays though, and you essentially have to turn on the jukebox to draw people towards you so that other people can get back to safety or whatever. Just random NPCs that you don't really see or anything like that.
That's really cool.
It's really cool, and it plays like three. Like so far, we got the Ace of Spades,
Motorhead,
which is pretty sick. Yeah, and a couple of other songs played. The unfortunate thing, though, was that we ran into a bug where we failed the mission the first time. The second time, I could hear the music, and it was super low for everybody else. And then at one point, we turned off the jukebox, turned it back on, and then it worked for everybody. The music kicked back in. But again, the issue with DMCA stuff is that there's no way to turn it off. There's no way to turn off, like a lot of games offer streamer-friendly mode. And that's one thing that I hope maybe gets fixed. Just add in some royalty-free music and let's check that box or whatever. I keep running to. Are you playing on PC, Tim?
No, I was playing on PS5. Sorry. Wow.
PC gaming, PC gaming.
Yeah, I just got my PC back, and I just remembered that I've got a 3090 in there, and the only thing I played on it is Loop Hero, so I should probably put that thing to use.
I kept running into an issue that I brought up on stream where whenever if I go into my settings, it's got two modes. It's got windowed and it's got borderless full screen. And when I go into my settings, it immediately my Windows bar will pop up and the game shifts down.
Oh,
and it won't go away unless I go back into windowed and then back into borderless full screen. Then it'll full screen again. And that's just some weird kind of nuisance that always pops up if I ever want to go dig into the settings. I agree with you though, Tam. I don't think it's this 10 out of 10 game, but I think it's so solid that, again, playing with friends, like we've had a lot of fun playing shitty games with friends. And this game, I think it is way more than solid enough to feel good. And I think as you keep on unlocking the cards, Tam, you will feel like it makes more of a difference because early on, I agree. It doesn't feel like it's make or break. Like, oh, I didn't get that card. Who cares? We'll probably still win anyway. But if you want to play on if you want to, what I assume is play on higher difficulties, the more you unlock cards, they do have their own rarities to them. And you will start to unlock like the blue and the purple cards. And I feel like those, if you stack them and strategize a deck that is like super offensive focused, where it's like crazy amount of headshot multipliers and all that stuff, I feel like that meta game is enough for me to kind of feel satisfied.
I think there's a place for this game in like the long term or mid to long term. Like it feels like because Turtle Rock, they did Left 4 Dead and everyone was like, this is amazing. They did the second one, people were like, this is amazing also. And then they were like, all right, we're gonna go and kind of mix up the formula and try and make something cool, take it in a new direction and kind of innovate on it. And they did Evolve and everyone was like, this is not amazing. Please do not do this. And that kind of spoke, I think the message that sent was like, the thing that you were making is good enough, just keep making that. And the funny thing is, like, in the time between Evolve and Back 4 Blood, there's only been a couple of games that really tried. I think Vermintide's one of them. But like nothing's come close to like the matching that. So they kind of walked back into a field where it was only them, and that's very lucky for them. Like I'm surprised more companies didn't try and ape that. And at the same time, like it's solid enough, like Andy said, that they could keep building on this and keep like introducing new campaigns going forward. It's not built like a games as a service, like lifestyle game, but there's enough of the framework and the underlying like foundation for them that like, I reckon they're like 2 patches away from making it like really well polished. And then from that point on, they can treat it like a platform where it's just like new stories are constantly coming out, new campaigns, let's look at a different part of the world or that kind of thing. They could very easily build it into something bigger than it currently is, and I hope that they do approach it like that, and I hope that they're given enough support to get it there.
Do you think that is the future of Back 4 Blood? Like, I know it's launch day, so it's still really early, but do you think that they'll make enough patches to fix the simple things, have some type of roadmap? And then my second question with that is, do you think with those fixes and patches that Back 4 Blood can find a place in kind of just gaming, like in the same way that now we have these battle royales that kind of compete with each other, but then Overwatch is still there? Do you think this could be like a new pillar for it?
I think they can. I think the interesting thing about Left 4 Dead was they kind of, the content dropped off, but the community carried on for a long time, and they were sustained by mods and that kind of stuff. And like mods definitely changed the experience in a big way, but fundamentally those people stuck around because they had an attachment to that gameplay style, right? It was just the new content dried up because Valve cut ties or like Turtle Rock moved on, etc., etc. So past experience says that there is longevity in the thirst for that kind of gameplay. And I feel like given the investment in there and it makes business sense for them to carry on building on what they've got. They've got a good foundation here. And also we live in a world where the business models exist to not necessitate, but like encourage that. Like they could very much a month, 2-3 months down the line. I mean, it's on Game Pass, I believe. Am I right in saying that? It's on Game Pass, right? Yeah, it's on Game Pass. Chuck it on that, give it away on PlayStation Network, and then you just sell new campaigns every now and then. And if it cycles out of Game Pass, when you've gotten enough, a big campaign coming back out, put it back in Game Pass, people will check it out or maybe even buy it. And I feel like they could. I hope it would seem wasteful for them to one and done this, because it would be weird for them to bring it back, this specific concept back in the way that it exists with the cards, and then just be like, okay, cool, everyone, see you later, bye, and then move on. It feels like a lot of the potential is in continuing to support it and making it a platform and polishing the things that are like small rough edges that people are bumping up against.
Andy, do you see yourself playing this game? Like if those things were to happen, let's say February 2022, is there a chance you're still playing this game?
I think when new content comes out, I'm always down to go back to games with friends that I've enjoyed. And we've seen that with games like World War Z. And I think this game is a bit more polished than that when it comes to gameplay. The gameplay is tight enough to make me want to go back and have fun. Like it's not, again, when we've played games with friends and sometimes we've played really crappy ones, but you're having fun because it's with friends. This one just feels satisfying enough to play anyway. Like if we're adding in new cleaners, which is what they call like the human characters, if we're adding in new cleaners or adding in new cards, like Tam is already mentioning, adding new story campaigns, absolutely. Like I've played through these intro levels so many damn times throughout all of the alphas, throughout all of our streams, and then our personal streams offline or whatever, after work hours. I've played through this shit so many damn times, and I still have fun. So, like, absolutely, I plan on continuing to do it. The great thing about today's stream, though, was like we actually hit uncharted territory with levels that we hadn't played in before, and that was so much fun. It was so cool to kind of like, oh, I haven't seen this area before. What the hell is going to happen here? And it was really surprising and cool.
Was the jukebox thing something you've experienced before?
No.
That's awesome. Man, I need to go find that clip. You can go find it, youtube.com/KindaFunnyPlays.
If I was working at Turtle Rock, or it's 2K that publishes it, isn't it? I think, is that right? Yeah. If I was working there, I would be looking at games like Fortnite and also more closely to it, Dead by Daylight, and looking at how they could start thinking about having their own original content, but also bringing in an audience through licensing content. Like you introduce an Ash versus Evil Dead or the Evil Dead campaign where you're playing as Ash and 3 others, or, you have the Stranger Things campaign where, you play as the kids and you have to go up against X, Y, and Z. Like there's ways to there's enough material out there for you to kind of like license it and bring in a new audience, introduce the Jason Voorhees type character and like put that in there. Like this Dead by Daylight is doing so well that if there isn't a bunch of people looking at it at the 2K side or Turtle Rock side, they're definitely leaving money on the table and kind of throwing away an opportunity to make something out of it.
This is crazy. But can you imagine a world with some type of collaboration between Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead as a franchise?
That would be incredible, yeah. I would love to see that. Yeah, bring those cleaners in. And like, it's not impossible. Like Valve has done, like, Valve seems very cool.
Valve did stuff with Fall Guys.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll let you use this character.
We'll barely make our own games. We'll let you we don't put our characters in your games.
Fun.
Yeah. Oh, you want a Half-Life? No, but I do have this tiny portable gaming PC. How do you feel about that?
Barrett, have you played it all?
No, Left 4 Dead was never really my jam. That was like one that like my close friends from high school would play all the time, and I would love like watching them play and stuff like that. So like whenever we're streaming it, Back 4 Blood, like I'll probably come in and watch and just like think about those high school days. But that's never really been a thing for me. I don't know particularly why, because it does seem like a fun time. But yeah, never caught on to the Left 4 Dead craze. Even though I do respect like what that franchise is and like what it did and what Turtle Rock has like done over the years, and then to eventually come back to Back 4 Blood.
Well, yeah. Any closing thoughts on Back 4 Blood?
Can't wait to keep rocking with it. Can't wait to keep playing it.
Yeah,
see it all the way through.
If you've got Game Pass, it's a no-brainer. Just like give it a shot, grab some friends. It's a good time.
Moving on back to Metroid Dread for a little bit. Tam, I want an update from you. How any new progress on it?
Yes, I've been taking my time with it, just kind of like enjoying it. You know how infrequently these Metroid games come along, so I didn't want to power through it. I was like, I'll take my time with it, and I'm pretty sure I'm like at the final boss of the game. I've had the big revelation, and I think I kind of I'm still at where I'm at when we talked about the game. I think it's fantastic. I think it's excellent, but there are a few annoyances at it that I have like developed over time. I think that it is a lot of the discussion has been around its difficulty, and I think that it can be a difficult game, but I also think that it can be pretty cheap at times. I found it to be in a way where I was like just indignant about when certain moves, the way they hit. Like there's that one enemy type, I don't want to say what it is, but you have one-on-ones against this type of enemy multiple times, and they have this one specific red move that kind of like they do. I know Tim and Barrett is in, you're nodding your head, so I assume you know it.
Oh, yeah.
The hitbox on that shit is just unbelievable. It's unacceptable. Like it is so bad because like it's not only goes through like objects, but it's also like
Just very vertical. Also,
yeah, exactly.
you
It's
think you
very
jumped
vertical.
and kind of past the area of it, and you rarely ever are.
Yeah, you never feel like you're past it, and it's just really like stuff like that will happen, and then there's like certain other enemies that are kind of cheap and annoying, but it's one of those things where you're like, okay, fool me once, fool me twice, third time you'll be fine, if not you're descendant of George Bush, unlucky, but like going into other parts of it is like there's certain things that kind of irk me still. I stand by my music thing where I talked about it on our discussion previously. I think the music's not good. And like I'm even more confident about my opinion of that because there are moments when, like Tim, we talked about this straight after. There's a moment where Samus's theme kicks in, and it is like it immediately like I felt chills, and I felt like there's another moment where it plays music, redone music from Super Metroid, and when that kicked in, I was like, I was about to cry. I was like, this is so
Straight
good.
up. It's
And
special, man.
And then you go back to the that stuff, and you're like, this is bad. Like, why is none of this good? Like, I forget that it's even in there, and it's just annoying at times, certain of it. So there's nothing in this game that really stuck out to me as like really good musically. There's not a single track on this original track, not based on a thing that I would go to YouTube to search out and find, which is a shame because I listen to the Prime soundtrack still. I listen to the Super Metroid soundtrack still. I listen to the Fusion soundtrack still, and it's just like it's slightly disappointing to me that I don't have a new selection of Metroid songs to listen to, if you know what I mean. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to, it sticks with me, is one thing I really love actually is there's crap, how do I talk about this without it spoiling anything? There's a language in this game that has been created for it, and I really love languages. Like there's something about like I study Japanese, and there's certain languages that I just really love hearing. And there's a cutscene in which you're interacting with a character and they're speaking a different language. And I watched that cutscene about 7 times just because I love the way it sounded and the way the voices.
Great,
so
man.
I really want to like just hit up Nintendo.
I watched that cutscene 7 times, mainly because of the fight.
You died.
afterwards.
You died.
Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
died several times. But I do agree with you. Like it was weird to have like. For so long in that game, right, where you're like all you're really talking to is like Adam when you're uploading information, and then it was like weird to like actually have like a dialogue with another character. I was like, oh, this is so like weird and
that that was real cool, but it leads into something that I actually one of the people that I work with, a writer Jordan Ramey, actually has written an article about, which kind of encapsulates everything that I was thinking about it. I miss the parts of Fusion where Samus would think to herself about what was going on and talk to herself. She's silent this entire thing, which is like, okay, Samus is like stoic, silent bounty hunter, just get shits done. But like that is okay for the first few games. In this games, there are like profound revelations about Samus and her history and her future and that kind of stuff. I don't want to spoil it, but like the entire time that's happening, she's just like dead silent the entire time, and you're like, this is life-changing stuff, Samus Aran. Like, what's going on? What are you thinking? And it kind of made me think about the characterization, because on the one hand, they did really well in her like non-verbal stuff, where she's got a lot of like confidence to her, and she behaves like a bounty hunter, and like the way she moves and the way she reacts is so good. And you get a lot of characterization and from that. But then there are moments where I was like, this cool sequence where, you know, like you're using the fast travel, going through an elevator. In Fusion, you had that, but you also had like her talking about what had just happened, and she had like humanity there, and I miss that a lot. and I wish that they had that in this. So there are definitely narrative successes and narrative triumphs in this game that I really respect and I really enjoy. But I think there's characterization failures that are quite significant. And I wish, and it's weird because like I realize that what I'm saying is Samus Aran is behaving the way Samus Aran has always behaved, which is like a weird thing to criticize. But I'm also like, she shouldn't technically be behaving like that anymore. She does speak, in other games.
Other
So,
M.
like, yeah, Other M is perhaps like too far out on the other side.
But I mean,
she's like,
it is canon to the
it's
storyline.
canon. It's canon to the storyline. I wish they had found a better way to give her voice and let her be that person a bit more. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, like that cheap bosses aside, like I had a fantastic time with it. I'm so glad that it's out, and I'm hoping that it continues to do well, because that gives me hope that Nintendo will invest further in it. We've got Prime coming, and then I hope that they look at it and they're like, oh, people really care about this Metroid shit. Let's get it done. Let's do more of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I beat it, and I loved the final hours of the game. For definitely my favorite of the whole game, and I love the way that it kind of builds up from that enemy that you're referencing, that kind of you see a couple times throughout the game, or at least that enemy type. I really enjoyed that type of gameplay with those bosses, and it does get very hard. The final boss is ridiculous with the amount of phases it has and the amount of things you need to kind of like deal with. But I like that type of gameplay. I mean, it goes back to like things like Cuphead that really kind of vibe with me, of the you need to learn the pattern. It's really old school and it's going to beat the shit out of you. But what I like about Metroid Dread specifically is a lot of it is up to the exploration. And when you're getting your ass kicked by a boss, you can just keep doing it over and over and over to beat it, or you can go explore a little bit more, get some more missiles, get some more energy levels up. So when you do the boss, it's that much easier. And that was something that was really rewarding to me, where I was getting my ass kicked by the final boss, like, if I'm being honest, probably like 8 times in a row. And I was like, I'm going to go grind out some of my stats a little bit. And it felt good because it rewards you to keep going back and exploring and using your newfound abilities to go open up old areas, to find things that you saw before but couldn't reach. And it's like, if you're not doing that, you're really missing out on a lot of the experience. I think that's why a lot of the bosses can be super upsetting when you're just getting your ass handed to you. But yeah, I think that there are enough narrative moments that are so incredibly well done. And like, I can't believe they made some of the choices they did. It's so rewarding. But Tam, I think you're absolutely right that there was a missed opportunity. Now that I beat it, now that I've seen it all, for Samus's character to kind of have more of a voice, and I don't even necessarily mean it needing to be literal, but like just having something to say that would match how amazingly well animated and how much emotion you get from her actions and how much you've seen her grow throughout the different games. But from a gameplay perspective, one thing that towards the end I was a little let down about is the shift away from the melee combat. Like, I feel like about halfway through the game, it just hits a point that the counter is very much just a quick time event trigger. And it's less of an active kind of like dance with the enemies that it feels like more in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that they had done a little bit more of it, because that was one of my biggest criticisms of Samus Returns on the 3DS, was they implemented it. It made the game a lot easier, but it kind of didn't really feel like it was making you more mobile and like that you were in control of it. It was very quick timey. The first half of this game, I enjoyed it a lot more because the basic enemies, it felt more engaging. The bosses, it felt like pointed. But over time, especially when you start facing more similar bosses over and over and over, I'm like, all right, I get what I'm doing. And this kind of just feels like a rhythm game more than I'm actively interacting with what's happening.
One of the situations that I'll talk about, I tweeted about this in vagaries, but I'll like describe it. There's a boss that it's one of the most annoying design things I've encountered in a long time. And when I tweeted about it, everyone replied with like, this is how Souls games do it. So why are you complaining? I'm like, no, they don't do it like this. There's a boss that has like basically not 3 phases, but 3 different attacks, basically. And they're kind of like mini phases. You guys will know it. It's the I don't want to say what the boss is actually, but like at one phase it like puts its tendrils on each of the roofs, and you have to attack them in that phase, and it's in between two other phases, where one's like you got to dodge some beams and the other one's like you're just shooting at it and stuff like that. in that phase, it specifically requires you to do one thing. So it's like you need to shoot these things, but at the same time, it's attacking you with a special ability that hones in on you, and basically it does massive damage. So in that phase, I was like, I'm just going to focus on dodging in this phase because it takes just a bit too much time to attack properly, and I'll play it safe in this phase because I know I'm good at the other phases and I can recover health. So that was my strategy. I went into it. I was like, makes perfect sense. Don't risk anything. Play defensively in this part and then do the damage on the other parts. I did that shit for
3
40
hours later.
minutes. 40 minutes. And when I'm talking 40 minutes, I'm talking I was wrecking that boss's shit for 40 minutes. Like, not taking damage, just absolutely destroying it. And then I snapped out of it and I was like, how long have I been doing this for? I do not I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Why isn't this boss dying? And then I realized that in that second phase, you have to shoot the tendrils. Otherwise, the boss it does not progress. And then when I did it and did that, the boss took 30 seconds.
Straight up.
30 seconds.
Straight up.
And I was like, that is one of the worst designed things I've seen in a long time.
Note for the future.
Yeah.
Final boss, very similar. Very similar. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Keep that in mind, everybody listening.
People are like, oh yeah, Souls games do that. Loads of games do that. I was like, no, loads of games don't do that. Usually, when there's something specific you can do, it doesn't push you to do something else at the same time. It places your focus in the thing, right? Like in a Souls boss, if you need to deliver a death blow, like the boss is on its knees and is not attacking you, and you're like, I can approach now and go for a visceral or something like that. In this, it's like attacking you at the same time, presenting the idea that defensive in this phase is optional and is a possibility. So like, it's just a weirdly bad designed boss fight that, if you're not careful, will take close to an hour and should take 30 seconds. And I was like, it's another one of those things where I'm like, oh god, this game could have been amazing if there weren't these small things that annoy me about it.
Yeah, I agreed with Imran's tweet a couple days ago, just talking about the lack of visual feedback to the player. And you could make that easier by putting a health bar like a lot of games do, or just visual feedback of make the enemy turn red, or like in Doom, you see sort of physical things happening, degradation, and you know that you're kind of making a dent into it. But yeah, I do think that some enemies lack a bit of visual feedback and are inconsistent in the messaging of what it's trying to get you to do. And I feel like I've died quite a bit to stuff that I'm just not understanding what's happening, as opposed to like I got outplayed there.
How frustrating is it, Andy, that every time that happens, the tip screen comes up that says, every attack can be dodged. And you're just like, I know, motherfucker. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah. There's a couple of attacks. I'm just like, I jumped, the attack went straight towards me and I jumped up in the air, and I'm not sure why I'm not dodging that. But I do think that anytime I unlock a new ability, it's like, I'm running out of fucking fingers, dog. Like I don't got any more fingers to work all these movements and stuff. And it's gonna take a lot of practice. And goddamn, this is a nightmare game for accessibility. Holy shit! Like I am struggling like to remember using the grappling in the way that I want to do it, and that's getting me killed a lot when I'm, she has a grapple beam. Spoilers. You can grapple,
but like when you're getting chased by an Emmy, right, and like you're trying to utilize that like a grapple hook at points, and it's just like, fuck, what shoulder button was it to hold down and then press? Like that was something that I thought about too, where it is an accessible nightmare.
Yeah, especially when it comes to, oh damn it, I equipped the missile there instead of the grapple and things like that. And a lot of it comes down to you just got to keep on doing those abilities and you'll eventually get used to it. But it can get a little bit frustrating. I'm right with you, Tam, where I feel like this game is so close to being perfect. And there's just some decisions that I don't really think were super well thought out. But I still love this game feels so linear for being a Metroidvania, where anytime I want you to teleport, you teleport. and you will progress. It's really hard, I think, to get lost. I've only been stuck in a couple places because my brain isn't firing at 100%. It's like, oh, there was a moment where it's like I should have sprinted with the sprint ability, but I just didn't even think to do it right there because whatever. I'd have 10 other abilities to think about. I think the game is fantastic. That sounds very, very nitpicky. I'm having an absolute blast with the game, though. It's so much fun. I think that I just it hurts me that it looks the way it does. Like, goddamn, can you imagine if this game looked like The Ascent? Can you imagine if this game had some sort of
Yeah.
visual upgrade and lighting upgrade? Because it's other than that, I was just mentioning, Tim, that like with all the other nitpicks, that we already kind of mentioned, I think the game is absolutely fantastic and it's so good and fun and it feels so tight to control. And yeah, I don't know how far away I am from beating it, but I feel like I'm maybe 3 hours ish away. I'm having a blast with it. I think it's a very, very good video game, and I'm shocked that um, Nintendo made a first party game this difficult.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it's one of those things that I enjoy the game more now that it's done, just because I'm like, well, I did it all, so I don't need to worry about how frustrating some of those bosses were, which isn't necessarily a great thing, but it makes me feel really good. And so that's kind of like part of the design there. But yeah, I do think from the accessibility perspective and even the difficulty perspective, I really think this game needed some more like difficulty options at the very least, because there are some times where it's just like, this just simply isn't fun. Like I'm a big proponent of, when it comes to these type of video games, especially ones that are designed to be this type of difficult, like there should be options for, okay, this boss fight, I've tried enough, I've had enough. Let me just dumb it down for this one. I'm okay with that. Like Kay and I had some similar things where I ended up beating all those bosses on normal, but I would not blame anybody for dropping it down to easy for this fight or that fight, and like
Yeah.
so simple.
For me, I think like the difficulty, like it's weird because like I think the balance of how aggressive the enemies are, the tight timing on the parry window, and the amount of health they take is completely out of whack. Like it's like too many of those things are cranked way too high. Like bosses are aggressive, the timing window is too tight, and they take too much health all at the same time. Where it's like you can't have that. If your window is tight, you want to crank down how much health they take. And the further you get into the game, especially where I'm at with like bosses, the last few bosses I did, it was like you take 2 hits and it's like you just see these energy bars that you spent hours accumulating just vanish like in seconds, and you're like, that seems so ridiculous. And it's
guards,
like not, yeah, and it's not like a special attack or anything, it's just a normal attack, and you're like, oh, it's out of whack. Like they needed to tune the kind of like output as well, or like if you want high damage, like take the aggression down a bit, because there's times where the bosses are like on your ass, and the window is so small, the margin for failure, like, and this has come from someone who like revels in Souls games and loves them, and like I love hard games, but because I love hard games, I can also tell when it feels like something's out of whack and something doesn't feel right. Like Andy, you know the same as well, and you guys all understand games to the degree where you can feel when something feels wrong in a game. And there's so many parts of this, or so many encounters in this game where I feel like this just feels wrong. This just feels like it wasn't like there wasn't enough back and forth discussion and design iteration on this part of it, which is a shame.
Yeah, the guards that we had mentioned earlier, that I was Barrett and I had a discussion actually earlier, that like you have to stand close enough to want to parry that one attack, but the red charge that's unblockable and unparryable that you just have to dodge it, that attack has 2 different timing patterns. It's either like a long low dung, or it's like a really, really quick one. But if you're too close, you're gonna get hit by the red one. But if you're too far, you can't parry it. And I'm like closely monitoring my health. I'm like, this is surely the one. Surely I'll kill it right here. And I have 88 health with like no bars left, just 88. And it hits me with one little fucking ball of energy out of its gun, and I'm dead. It's like, how does that little shitty spam, like, that shouldn't be the 88 damage thing. I could understand getting hit by the melee or getting hit by the red or even the parryable one, and that killing me with 88% health or whatever. But you should not hit me in one shot with a little stupid beam that you shoot 3 of that is clearly like, this is supposed to be the easier part of the fight.
This is like the weaker like
Yeah.
attack where
Yeah.
you can kind of like get your bearings a little bit and think about
Yeah.
the layout and stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Barrett,
This
Barrett, I want to hear from you. Like, what is your history with 2D Metroid, and what's your experience like with Dread?
I have I've decided that this is going to be the first Metroid game that I've ever beat.
Hell yeah.
I think the only other 2D Metroid game I've ever played is Samus Returns for the 3DS, and that was purely for like work purposes and stuff like that, and I didn't play much of it. And I played like a little bit of Metroid Prime because I remember like growing up, my babysitters really liked it, so like I remember playing that like a little bit. But yeah, that's like the most I put into a Metroid game. I'm like 5.5 hours in. You know, like there's a certain amount of Emmys. I think I have 2 Emmys left to like give you an idea of like where I am in the game. I have no idea like how much I actually have left, but it's really cool because I love a lot of Metroidvania inspired games, so it's really cool to like actually dive deep into a Metroid and like kind of see like where its roots and like how Dread is able to being able to see the roots of Metroid from, you know, decades ago, but then being able to play it in 2021 and feeling the kind of the modernization of it, especially with like, you know, I love Guacamelee, which is very much inspired by Metroidvania, and particularly Metroid and stuff. Like I had no idea like the statues that hold the eggs in Guacamelee are like a direct rip from getting certain powers from Metroid and stuff like that. Yeah, and so like little things like that, like it's really cool to like kind of go back to its roots and feel how intuitive it is. Like maybe I had the advantage of you and Tam kind of warning last week of like, yeah, you can like play an hour and then like for an hour you get lost, and we're like thankfully I don't feel like I've gotten lost like super long. Like maybe like for 5 minutes I'm like, all right, like maybe there's some like a door that I'm overlooking, and then yeah, it's usually like, oh, like I have this new ability and there's this door that I passed like 10 minutes ago that I should go check out, and like kind of detailing the map for where to go next, which has been just like really cool, and I'm having a lot of fun like getting lost in each of like the different main areas and like discovering new things and having that classic of like, do I have an ability for this? Try it for like a minute. No, I don't. All right, we'll move on. We'll figure it out, and we'll probably come back later. And so it's just been like a really fun time exploring. I really love the Emmy encounters. They are terrifying, but then also like at the same time, it's like this weird balance of like they're terrifying in the moment, but then when you get killed, you're like, all right, well, I'm about to get loaded into like the door that I walked into 10 seconds ago. So it's like not that big of like a fuck, I like lost so much progress, but probably if they went the other way and you had to like go back a fuck ton, like I'd probably be more frustrated with those encounters. Yeah, I agree with the boss fights. Like they're on paper in design, they're really fun and they're really cool. And then there's just like a lot of visual stuff where it's just like, you know, there's one that's, you know, there's water in this game, so you gotta. I don't know what are spoilers and what aren't spoilers, so I'm trying to be like as spoiler free as possible. You know, there's a boss encounter where there's water involved, right? And you know, I was getting through the first phase like really well, and it was just like, all right, like now I see this thing where I can attach to the ceiling, and I get halfway through, and then I get hit by the boss again. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? And then it's like the simple thing where it's like, oh, there wasn't like that big of a visual cue for this thing I gotta shoot on the wall to get to the other side to like continue the fight and stuff like that, and just like little things like that where it's like, all right, yeah, like you guys were saying, like there should have been these fine tweaks. Once you figure it out, though, it's like, all right, like I'm having a blast, and like now I can mess this thing up, and it's really fun. And yeah, with I posted like the enemy type that we keep mentioning. I posted my first fight with them on Twitter. Because yeah, I was getting my teeth kicked in the first encounter with that, and then like I had to let it go for the night because it was like 9:30, and I was like, oh man, how did I used to stream until 11 o'clock like every fucking night, and I was like really like fading out. And so like I went to bed, woke up kind of early, and I was like, all right, let's try this before starting the workday. And it was like on the second or third attempt where I was like, hell yeah, I got this. I like understand the cues and stuff like that. And it's those fights that I actually enjoy the most, even more than
I love those fights
Yeah.
so much, and I can't wait till we're like months removed and like the spoilers and stuff are like lifted so we can have a proper conversation about it, because the way that the game progresses those fights specifically, I think is something that the Metroid series has never done and has direly needed.
Yeah,
So-
there's those fights, and then there's even like a different enemy type, but is still very quick. Where you're fighting a singular enemy that like all I'll say is like they got a staff type of weapon, and it's like this very quick battle, which I really like, and it's very different from the boss battles, which feel like a little more like you're fighting this giant thing and you're not really moving a lot, and it's like a very slow thing. Where it's cool to have like these formidable foes that are like essentially your size, and they're moving around the room as fast as you are and stuff like that, and that's really cool. And like the way they iterate upon it, right, where it's like the second encounter with that enemy type, it's like a very different landscape for the room. So it's not like technically a more difficult fight, but it is because the kind of design of the room is a little different. So you have to figure out of like how to best utilize like your fight and your tactics against this enemy type in this room. And then like they amp it up even more where you have to fight two of them at once. And I finished that I think this morning, and that was just like Jesus Christ, like when I started it and after like the first
Man-eater, Tim. Man-eater.
Yeah, true.
There, no idea what the context is for that. But
Before we get back to you, Barrett, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Honey. Online shopping. Everybody does it. There's no shame in it unless you're doing it without Honey. That is, you should be ashamed of yourself if that's the case. That's because Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one it finds to your cart. Honey supports over 30,000 stores online, from tech and gaming sites to fashion brands and even food delivery. It's also super simple to use. When you go to checkout, the Honey button drops down and all you have to do is click apply coupons. Then you sit back, relax, little Honey guy dances, and Honey searches for the coupons for you. If it finds a working code, you just watch the price drop. I use Honey for everything. I've been using it for a very, very long time, many, many years. I've saved thousands of dollars, honestly, over time. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free, installs in just a few seconds, then you're good to go. And by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kinda. That's joinhoney.com/kinda to get Honey for free. Next up, shout out to Upstart. Carrying a credit card balance month to month can make getting out of debt feel like a never-ending slog, but Upstart can help you pay it off and start living your life. Upstart is the fast, easy way to get a personal loan all online, whether it's paying off credit cards or consolidating high interest debt. Upstart can offer smarter loan rates because they look at more than just your credit score alone. Upstart also considers factors like your income, current employment, and credit history for loans between $1,000 and $50,000. One of my very close friends had a lot of debt in a bunch of different places, and Upstart was able to help consolidate it, made it just simple and easy for him to understand, and now he's debt-free, living his best life. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/kindafunny. That's upstart.com/kindafunny. Don't forget to use this URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Upstart.com/kindafunny. And finally, shout out to Chime. When your online checking account balance is running low, a $33 overdraft fee just makes it worse. And overdraft fees have gotten wild. In 2019, banks took $11 billion in overdraft fees. Oh my Wow. Chime does things differently. Chime is an award-winning app and debit card that has saved its members more than $10 billion in overdraft fees. You deserve to have financial peace of mind. Join the millions of Americans already loving Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. You can get started today at chime.com/kfgames. That's chime.com/kfgames. chime.com/kfgames. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank NA members FDIC. SpotMe eligibility requirements apply. Overdraft only applies to debit card purchases and cash withdrawals. Limits start at $20 and may be increased up to $200 by Chime. Chime member overdraft fees savings based on eligible members' use of SpotMe versus $33 average overdraft fee. Overdraft fee data based on bank rate checking account survey and CRL June 2020 overdraft fees report. Chime.com/kfgames. Don't go for it, Barrett.
Yeah, yeah, just the way everything like ramps up in that perspective is like really cool, and like the Emmy encounters and the those specific enemy fights are my favorite parts of the game, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm hoping that I'm approaching like the last like couple of hours here, because yeah, I think even though it's like it feels like a short game, and you know, like I feel like a lot of like really good Metroidvania games can be short but still like be very effective in what they're doing. Yeah, I'm like having a lot of fun, and I'm ready to like wrap it up soon. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, and playing it on the SwoLED, loving my SwoLED, and it's been a fun time playing that, playing WarioWare, rebooting up Breath of the Wild. Tam, you were right of like booting that game up on the OLED screen. It's like, goddamn, just like when it gets to like sunset, and you're like, ooh yeah, like the way everything like pops. It's so great.
Stunning, man. One of the things I want to bring up, you talking about the Emmy fights. Overall, I like them. I love the Emmy's design. I love the colors. I love the film grain effects in all of their areas. I think the level design layout is spectacular, honestly, for so many of them. And like you were saying, Barrett, I like how if you lose, and you lose a lot, and I love how tight the counter is there, where it's like you're probably not going to get it, but if you do, you feel like a badass. It's really rewarding. But that if you lose, cool, you're sent right back. You know how to run through, and you're fine. What I really don't like about the Emmys, and I thought this was going to get more enjoyable as the game went on, is having to kill them the way that you do it with the Omega Blast or whatever, and like you kind of have to like then hunt them down and run away and have enough space to like load up their face.
I like that because it turns into like like the first couple are like a little basic where you like you have to have like a certain amount of like floor where they're walking to you, and you can have like just that slow build up of like, oh my god, do I have enough space where I'm gonna melt off their face so I can like power blast them and stuff like that. But the one that I encountered either last night or this morning, where part of it is like underwater, which was like a complete bullshit, and I hate that. Every underwater level in any game, I don't care if it's a Metroid game, bad, get it out of here. But like trying to find the space of like, oh, I actually needed to like walk on the ceiling and come towards me and stuff like that. Like it turns into like a really fun puzzle. As a fight, yeah, they're not like super like interesting, and they don't like iterate upon it, but like I think it becomes more of like a puzzle and like figuring out the level design to work in your favor.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that I kind of lets me down, is that I just feel like it's not as clever as it thinks it is. And as much as I know how well designed so much of the rest of the game is, that I'm like, I wish there was some time didn't know exactly what I was supposed to do. And then it just became kind of like running around and waiting to get my distance from them to be able to do the thing. I just feel like that was for something that's new to the Metroid franchise. I mean, like we had the X stuff in Fusion, but that was different. That was more similar to the Resident Evil 2 style, like bad guy chasing you when you're not trying to be chased type thing. Whereas the Emmys are, it's a different game. You know, it kind of pauses the gameplay that you're doing your exploration. It's more like, nope, you got to deal with this now. I just wish it was a little more like interesting.
Innovate upon the rest of them, because at this point it's gotten to the point where for me it's like how in NFL Blitz you could just skip kicking the extra point and just say you did it. Like, let's just let me hit a button that says I killed the enemy, because it's just like I just want to get to the next part.
Like, I got you, bitch.
Like unless you're gonna kind of innovate and keep on kind of adding to the complexity of these Emmy, take it down and then you blast it in the face or whatever. That's the part where I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to do this again, and it kind of just feels like a chore at that point after you've done a couple of them. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Tim.
I'm really excited to hear your guys' thoughts as you keep playing through the game. Tam, I'm extremely excited to hear your thoughts on the end of it. And even you guys, I'm excited to hear as like non-Super Metroid fans what you think about the whole thing when it comes to a close.
It is fascinating where I'm like, these cutscenes or whatever's happened in this conversation with Adam, probably really cool. I have no context or understanding of any of it, but I'm still enjoying my time.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. But
I would also like to add, Shine Spark still one of the coolest video game abilities in existence. Like and they do it so well in this game with the press B to like hover in place and then direct it and that kind of stuff. It looks amazing. I love the Shine Spark so much.
Yeah. Very fucking cool. Like, and I've always felt in the Metroid games that the speed boost, like how you have to like run forever, it always takes a little too much area to hit it. But when you get it, oh, it feels good. And I feel like that's a lot of Metroid. It's just like, oh, I wish this was just a little simpler. And then when you get it, you're like, oh, hell yeah. And I love that the Metroid games, and this continues now that I've beat it, I can say like, in the beginning, it fulfills the power fantasy of being this badass that can do anything. And by the end of the game, oh, you feel that way. It feels so damn. The last hour, you're just like, fuck yeah, I can do anything. But moving on, I talked all about WarioWare. Get it together. That's what it's called. Yeah, get it together. A couple weeks ago. But Barrett, you're playing it now. What are your thoughts? Have you been playing on the OLED or what's going on?
Yeah, so I think maybe started it on my regular Switch. Like like there was a point where I was kind of forcing the enjoyment of some games. Like I was looking for anything to play on the Switch, and I was just getting myself excited to use the OLED a lot and stuff like that. So I was like playing games like Eastward and stuff like that, and nothing was really,
Drifter, pretty good one.
Nothing really hitting where I'd like given Eastward like 5 hours, and I was like, all right, this is just, it's really cool, but it's not what I'm in the mood for. And I knew my dumb egg brain was like, WarioWare, spend $50. You know you want to, you simple bitch. And so like that's what I did. I'm a simple bitch, and I got myself WarioWare because I love those games. Just love the simplicity of it. Yeah, like it's very short, like story campaign, but that's never like really like the draw for me for WarioWare. It's like unlocking those modes of like, all right, here's the mode where it's just like a random room and just go as long as you can and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I really enjoyed like going through the story of it, right, where you get sucked into Wario and Company's video game, and you have to like fix all these glitches and stuff like that, and just like the weird memeability of like Wario and all of his friends and stuff. I really enjoy, and so yeah, it's been my fun like kind of mindless game to just kind of sit back and relax and not have to think about, Metroid design, or like really think about the complexities of characters and like story driven games and stuff like that. It's just like really dumb fun. And I like that, like I was a little cautious about controlling all of these different characters, and they're definitely, because like in past games, like it's not really like character based. It's usually just like you're not even really controlling a character. You just like for handheld Wario, you're just like using your pen and like moving like a finger to poke into a nose or something like that. And in this one, you're specifically controlling characters to complete these dumb tasks, like knocking apples off of a tree and stuff like that. There are definitely characters I don't love, but now that I've beaten the game, it's like, all right, I never have to play those characters ever again. And like when I'm picking my crew of 5, like I just pick the 5 that I know that work best with my brain. And so yeah, it's a good old dandy fun time. Definitely, I agree with you, Tim. It's not worth the $50. Even as like a big WarioWare like fanboy, like I adore this game. Maybe it'll even hit my top 10 favorite games of this year, and not even because it's a great game, just because I love WarioWare. But definitely, unless you're like me, don't spend $50 on this game.
Yeah, totally. Ton of fun, but just the price point is just a little off. But the price point is absolutely perfect for a game called It Takes Two. Andy, you have not played it before this week, right?
Correct.
And now you've been playing it with Nick Scarpino. Tell me all about that.
I mean, the fact that I want to keep on playing this game on stream with Nick and finish it.
With Nick of all people, yeah.
With Nick of all people, who will, as the hammer lady, just constantly hammer my character into the ground. Like he's a piece of garbage. But goddamn, this game is so exquisitely designed, and it's so fun. And I remember being on the review with you all, and you all kind of ranting and raving about it. And it's everything. You all didn't lie to me. Everything you all said was true. I wasn't very trusting of you all, but goddamn, this game is a lot of fun, and it is just so. It's the best parts of Mario 3D. It's all the best parts of any sort of 3D Mario game where you've really appreciated what the game is asking you to do, and actually doing that task with a teammate and coming up with really clever ways to utilize both players at the same time, and not feeling like one person, like I'm fucking Cappy with you know what I mean? Like it's just really smart and really fun. I think it's just it's a blast, and I totally understand why there was a lot of Game of the Year praise about it. earlier on this year, and I assume that all of the Hitman 3 fans are going to be similar to the It Takes Two fans of like, don't forget this game when it comes to Game of the Year talks. This game is incredible. Please don't like be a prisoner of the moment and just kind of like, what have you done for me lately? Because so far I think this game is pretty damn near perfect in terms of design. I haven't really run into anything that I go, oh, that's kind of lame. That's not fun. Sprinkling in these sort of versus mode games that have nothing to do with the story and have nothing to do with progressing anything, just to have two players like
fun,
have bragging rights, and it's an absolute blast. This game is like not only perfect for us to make content on and for, but it's just I think a really damn good design game.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to
I'm
Joseph
so excited you guys are playing. Totally stoked you guys are playing. So you think you'll actually beat it on stream?
Yeah. I think that's the plan. I think we want to play this Friday on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, and then Monday again when our next sort of this Friday we're doing a fundraiser thing for Hispanic Heritage Month on our stream. But Monday as well. I definitely want to see it all the way through because it's that much fun, and I think it's really good content as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, Andy. Tuesday.
Yeah. Something else is happening Monday.
Yeah.
What is that something else, Barrett?
This Monday's the 10-year anniversary for Batman Arkham City. So episode 2 of the Arkham Files will be dropping at 2:30 p.m. Pacific right here on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, where I'll dive deep into what makes Batman Arkham City still so damn special to this day. But then, if you remember 2 years ago for Arkham Asylum's 10-year anniversary, Greg and I sat down and played through the entirety of Arkham Asylum in one sitting. We're going to do that again. No Greg Miller this time because he's a big old baby daddy, so it'll be me and Mike. We're going to start After Games Daily at roughly 11 a.m. Pacific, starting Arkham City, and then we're going to like kind of take a break at like 2:30ish for the YouTube premiere for the Arkham Files. And then when we come back from break, we're going to play through the rest of the game. Like we're going to play through the entire game of Arkham City on Monday to celebrate this fantastic superhero game.
Oh yeah,
Tim, when you said and what's on Monday, I thought you were asking me. I was gonna be like, fuck, I don't know.
I don't know,
Let me bring up
the calendar. Well, Tam, thank you so much for joining us once again on the Kinda Funny Gamescast. I love that you are now officially a part-timer. So for the rest of the year, especially as Greg's gone and beyond, of course, we're going to be having you a whole bunch more on different shows, whether it's Games Daily or Gamescast, the streams. Who the hell knows where the hell else you'll pop up? I'm excited. We got to get you on the Kinda Funny podcast, right, Andy?
Yes,
just a
absolutely.
core podcast. Just hang out with them, talk about some bullshit that's not video games. But where can people find you now?
Yeah, I mean, please do watch the Kinda Funny stuff. I love doing it. And so, yeah, check it out. But otherwise, you can find me on GameSpot doing stuff there. I'm on Giant Bomb doing very online show, Born to Run, Giant Bombcast every now and then. And twitch.tv/TamoorH. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I have a good time. It's fun.
Hell yeah. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.